Hi everyone, Sharabin here, and in this video I'm gonna talk about gym leaders. I'm pretty sure if you play through pretty much any main series Pokemon game, you probably met the trainer called Gym Leader. Gym Leader is a big part in pretty much all main series Pokemon game, because in order to get to Elite Four, you need to defeat all 8 gyms. Also, pretty much every gym leader has a type specialty, meaning that they have one type they are certainly good at using. For example, Brock from the Kanto region is a rock specialist, while Iono from the Paldea region is an electric specialist. And the list just go on and on. However, in this video I want to discuss what if the gym leaders have different type specialties. Throughout this video, I'm going to give every gym leader a different type specialty depending on the Pokemon they have used before and what I think will be fitting. Also, I'm also going to give them new teams for their new type specialties. I'm not going to give them additional Pokemon or give them moveset changes or anything like that. Just the species of Pokemon going to be changed to their new specialty. So please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's start with the Kanto region. By the way, when I talk about the Kanto gym leaders, I am not going to talk about them when they are post-game gym leaders in the Johto games. I feel like it didn't really make sense because, as I said, they're post-game. Well, I am going to talk about 2 that are post-game gym leaders, but I'll get to them later. We're starting out with Brock. Brock is a rock type specialist, and his team has always been Geodude and Onix, 2 Pokemon that are literally rocks, so it makes sense as a rock type team. However, it also makes sense as a ground type team, because both of his Pokemon are ground types. While we could just easily change this and be done with it, I'm not gonna do that, because it just feels lazy just changing type specialty and not doing anything to the team. So I'm gonna replace one of his Pokemon. I decided to replace his Geodude with Diglett, since Diglett's cave is not far away from Johto City. Next is Misty, the water specialist. Her mostly used Kanto team is Staryu and Starmie. With Starmie's secondary psychic typing, we can make her a psychic specialist. And with this, we had to replace her Staryu with a Pokemon that is psychic type. And I suggest Drowsy. Drowsy's base stature is not that far away from Staryu's, and I felt like we could give some love for this Pokemon. We don't have to give the Abra line all the love here, alright? Next is Lieutenant Surge, the electric specialist. His mostly used Kanto team is Voltorb, Pikachu, and Raichu. All of them are pure electric type, which makes it a little difficult. However, in Let's Go, he replaces his Pikachu with a Magnemite, which gives us the option to make him a steel specialist. But steel is a very rare type in the Kanto games. Literally the rarest. Is the only way we can make him a fully fledged steel specialist if we replace his Voltorb with a second Magnemite and his ace become Magneton. I know it's a giant repeat team, but this is the best I can do, okay? He uses a lot of members of the Magnemite line, so it can make sense. Plus, the only other steel type Pokemon that have ever been accessible in any Kanto games is Meltan and Melmetal, and I don't think we can give them this power. Next up is Erica, the grass specialist. Her mostly used Kanto team is Victreebel, Tangela, and Vileplume. Because of her Vileplume and Victreebel being both poison type, we can make her a poison specialist. He does make a lot of perfume, so maybe he can use some of that can let you to know a little about poison too? I don't know. Anyways, for a Tangela that is not a poison type, I decided to replace it with a Nidorina. I felt like it makes sense. I replaced a pure grass type with a pure poison type, and Nidoran is also female. Next up is Koga, the poison specialist. His mostly used Kanto team has been 2 Koffings, Muk, and Weezing. I know, a lot of repeats. However, in Pokemon Yellow, his team was entirely made of Pokemon from the Venomoth line, so it can be a bug specialist. Meaning his team is going to be the strongest fully evolved bug type from the Kanto region. That means his team is going to be Parasect, Pinsir, Cypher, and Venomoth. While Pinsir and Cypher are stronger, Venomoth be the ace, since that is ace both in yellow and in its first battle in Let's Go. Next up is Sabrina, the Psychic Specialist. Her moves use Kanto team is Mr. Mime, Kadabra, Venomoth, and Alakazam. I already made a poison and bug specialist, so we cannot use Venomoth as a sword. And he's not even a psychic type. What is he using it for? With Mr. Mime's secondary fairy typing, we can make it a fairy specialist, but I don't really know about it, since I don't really get fairy vibes from her. Because, well, have you seen her in the anime? She's kind of scary. However, in Pokemon Let's Go, her team gets changed up a bit, replacing her non-psychic type Venomoth and her not-evolved Kadabra with a Slowbro and Jinx. With Slowbro's water type, we can make it a water specialist, but we already made Misty a psychic specialist, so we essentially just switches places between two type specialists, and that just would be kinda lame to me. So instead, we're gonna go with Jinx and make her ice specialist, which I can understand. In the anime, she had a kinda cold attitude prior to her in Pokemon Let's Go. Has her hands surrounded by some blue energy. I like to think that she's firing ice beam off her hands. That means her team will be all the non-legendary ice types of Kanto, those being Dewgong, Cloyster, and Lapras. And if you think this is just a straight up copy of Lorelai's team, well, what was I supposed to do? But these are the only non-legendary ice types in the Kanto region that are fully evolved, so we have to make some limitations here and there. If you want to make Sabrina's team slightly different, we have to give her Articuno and legendary, which wouldn't work. So I'm sticking with my point. Next up is Blaine, the Fire Specialist. His mostly used Kanto team is Ponyta, Growlithe, and the Revolver, Rapidash, and Arcanine. However, Blaine is hard to give a team to. For all of his appearances in gym battles in Kanto games, he doesn't use anything but pure fire types. In the Johto game, he uses a Magcargo in the first battle, and then his remake, he uses also a Camerupt and Houndoom. And then in Black 2 and White 2, he uses a Charizard in both the Kanto Leader Tournament and the World Leader Tournament. And in the World Leader Tournament one, he also uses a Rotom. So he has a lot of different Pokemon. However, since Charizard is the only Kanto fire type, I feel like it's the best to go with that and make him a flying specialist. First, he's gonna have a Gyarados since he lives on an island. He can easily fish up a Magikarp, or just a Gyarados right away. Next is Aerodactyl, since on the island you restore fossils. I'm sure they will give him one. Next is Dodrio, which is probably one of the more underrated of the Kanto birds, and I feel like we can give it some love. And his ace, we're going for Charizard. I know it's kind of hard to give a gym leader a starter, but it just makes so much sense for Charizard to be his ace because it can show that he actually started off as a normal trainer. Next up is Giovanni, the ground specialist and also the leader of Team Rocket. But let's not talk about the evil team. This guy uses multiple different teams throughout the series, and I don't know exactly which one I should count at the one he used the most. I decided to just go for the one he used first in Red and Blue. So that team was Rhyhorn, a trio, Nidoqueen, Nidoking, and Rhydon. I could make him a rock specialist with his Rhydon and Rhyhorn. However, I made Brock a ground specialist, and I don't want to switch the places between two type specialists because that would be lazy. I can make him a poison specialist since most Team Rocket people use poison type Pokemon, and he already had two poison types. However, I already made Erica one, and I don't really know what we can change her to otherwise, so I feel like we have to give you one something else. And what will it be? Normal. And I'm not joking, actually it makes sense. Use a Kangaskhan in both Hideout and Silco, and in Yellow Let's Go, he uses a Persian instead, and also a gym battle in Yellow. Plus he has Persian in the anime, so he has a whip for the normal type. I decided to give him Persian and Kangaskhan since they are the only normal types he ever used. Next, I'm going to give him other strong normal types, those being Tauros and Snorlax. For his fire Pokemon, I decided to go for Porygon since Porygon is a computer program and Giovanni is a businessman. Before moving on, we're going to take out some time and talk about the gym leaders that are only Kanto gym leaders in Johto games, those being Janine and Blue. Since these two are mainly gym leaders in the Johto games, they don't usually face off with them that much. However, since they are Kanto gym leaders, I feel like we could talk about them. Starting off with Janine. She's a poison specialist just like her father Koga, and her team is Crobat, Weezing, 2 Ariadoses, and a Venomoth. So I guess she still has a bug fever like her father. Actually, it makes sense for them to have a bug team because if Koga was a bug specialist, they probably wanted to follow her father's footsteps, like when they were both poison specialists. But now they're bug. First off, I decided to replace Weezing with Beedrill just to give Beedrill some love, and I decided to replace a Kanto Pokemon with another Kanto Pokemon, who is fun, and I decided also to give her a Scizor, but also a Fortress instead of a second Ariados because I feel like he doesn't need two Ariados, it feels kinda lame. And finally, Blue. Blue is actually a team leader that doesn't have a type specialty. He has always been using multiple different Pokemon. So we don't really know what type specialty he would have. However, I decided to make him a normal specialist. Since I feel like instead of him just changing the gym to do whatever he wants, I feel like he might get hold on to the gym's original tradition and keep the normal type alive. I really didn't see the point of him changing the gym from being a ground gym to being a multi-type gym. I didn't really get the point. But I felt like we could do a little change here, just for fun. He uses every normal type Prude Curie too. He uses a hit shot in multiple appearances, and in Let's Go, he uses a Tauros multiple times. So I'm throwing adding on those two, and putting on the Ace because he's the one he uses the most. Then we give him the other normal type, those being Snorlax, Kangaskhan, and Dodrio, somewhat powerful normal type. With final Pokemon, we give him Eradicate, representing the one he has a survival in the Kanto games. And we can probably all be happy that Eradicate didn't die. If you know that theory, you know what I'm talking about. Now, let's move over to the Johto region, and unlike the other regions I'm going to discuss, I cannot pick type specialists that I have from Kanto, since in the other games you face off against Kanto Fiend Gym Leaders after you beat the league, and none of them have type overlap with the other gym leaders. I feel like we can keep them having new type specialties, just we have multiple, and we're starting out with Faulkner, the flying specialist. His flying type team has always been Pidgey and Pidgeotto. Looking at his Heart Gold Soul rematch team, I decided to use his Honchkrow and turn him into a Dark type specialist. While it's not a huge Johtomon, it's playable for Murkrow is. I decided to make Murkrow his weaker Pokemon, and his ace I decided to go for Sneasel. They are a bit higher level for a first gym, but I feel like they can work if they meet the levels. Anyways, let's go over to Bugsy, the bug specialist. His team has always been Metapod, Kakuna, and Cypher. Looking at her rematch team in Arkansas Silver, she uses Heracross, which is the only other Johto bug she uses, so we can make it a fighting specialist. Heracross will obviously be the ace since it's the only fighting type she uses, but for the other one, I decided to give her a Tyrogue as the only other fighting type that we introduced in Johto, and Masha. Next up is Whitney, the normal specialist, as I'm pretty sure all of us are horrified for the rest of our life. Her team has always been Clefairy and her infinite Miltank. However, I feel like we can make a change with her Clefairy, because Clefairy used to be a normal type, but then it became a fairy type. So, we can use this into a fairy specialist along with Clefairy's change. We need to give her a different ace, and I decided to go for Granbull. I feel like having another fearsome and powerful Pokemon as her ace makes sense because she uses a Miltank, and Granbull is from the Fairy type in the Johto region. Next up is Morty, the Ghost Specialist. His team has always been Gastly, 2 Wonders, and a Gengar. Throughout multiple of his appearances, he has been shown to be using Flying, Dark, Poison, and Ice type quite a lot, but I already have type specialists for those types, so we can use them again. But he also be seen to use a Chandelier and a Jellicent in Black 2 and White 2. I went for Chandelier because it's my favorite of the two, and I decided to use a water for another one, so we make Morty a fire specialist. For his team, I decided to give him Growlithe since it's found close by, Vulpix because it's also found close by, Slugma because I felt like he needed a Johto fire type, and Houndoom as his ace because it's the strongest Johto fire type that is not a starter or a legendary. Next up is Shock, the fighting specialist. His team has always been Primeape and Poliwrath. No Johto mounts for some reason. I don't get it. With Poliwrath secondary water type, we can make him a water specialist. However, I feel like we can make Poliwrath the weaker Pokemon and making his ace Politoed. Because I feel like they could be interesting to show Split evolution and having him having both the frogs. I feel like that makes sense. Next up is Yasmin, the Steel Specialist. Our team has always been 2 Magnemite and a Steel Leaf. With her 2 Magnemite, we can make it an Electric Specialist because it can make sense. For her team, I decided to give her a Lantern to replace one of her Magnemites, and I don't see the reason for having a repeat. And for her ace, I go with Ampharos, since it's one powerful Electric from Yoto, and she has a close bond Amphi from the Light Tower. The sole purpose that you can battle her in the Yoto game and spend you for meter is because Amphi is sick. Next up is Price, the Ice-type Specialist. His team has always been Seal, Dugong, and Piloswine. Looking at his Heart Gold Soul Silver rematch team, he uses an Abomasnow, which I feel like we can use to turn him into a Grass-type Specialist. I choose that because Abomasnow reminds me of a cranky old man. For the team, I decided to give him Victreebel, Jumpluff, and an ace Blossom. Blossom being the ace because that's the strongest Johto Grass type. I decided to also give him Jumpluff because I feel like he should have more Johto Grass types than Kanto Grass types. The final one of the Johto Gym leaders is Claire, the Dragon Specialist. Her Heart Gold and Soul Silver team is Gyarados, 2 Dragonairs, and a Kingdra. Now when we add the very end, our options for changing our type specialty is quite limited. If we consider all the new type specialists we have given to Johto and Kanto Gym leaders, the only types that are left are Rock and Ghost. Considering he used an Aerodactyl on her Heart Gold rematch team, I decided to make her a Rock Specialist. She will obviously use an Aerodactyl, since that's the only Rock-type Pokemon she ever used. Then I decided to give her Corsola because she needs more Johto Rock types, and I felt like this Pokemon could get some love. Next I give her Rhydon because it's a fearsome beast, and I really liked how it generally looks. And for her ace, I decided to give her a Tyranitar. Another powerful and really strong Pokemon as her ace would fit her since she used a Kingdra. It had to be quite underleveled, but that is not an unusual thing in the Pokemon world. Heck, Lances, which is Claire's cousin, chooses 3 Dragonites, and they're all underleveled! Next up is the Hoenn region, starting off with Roxanne, the Rock Specialist. Her mostly used team is Geodude and Nosepass. While I could use you to take into the ground typing and make it a ground type specialist, I am not going to, because the ground I'm gonna give to another gym leader. I'll talk about that later. Instead, I'm gonna go for the type that she used the second most, water. Since the whole region is a region that is required to have too much water, it just makes sense to have a water gym leader. For a team, I decided to go for Pokemon you can easily find along with their old since I don't think we need to encounter new Pokemon. So I decided to give her Meryl and an Ace Lombre. Since you can get Lombre to get to the second stage before you face her regularly, so this way you can face a little tougher challenge when your Pokemon are most likely to just be base form at this point. Next up is Brawly, the Fighting Specialist. His most used team has been Machop and Makuhita. However, none of them are other than pure fighting type, so I don't have anything to go off. However, in Pokemon Emerald, he uses a Meditite, meaning we can use that to make him a Psychic Specialist. We replace his Machop with Meditite, and for his ace, I decided to go for Kirlia. It's a pretty powerful Psychic type Pokemon, which is around the same level as the gym. It might have to be a bit on level, but that's not really an issue. And I feel like it will make sense. While it might be a long shot, I'm pretty sure a ballerina like Kirlia is based on has great balance. And if you're surfing, I'm pretty sure you need balance. Because if you don't, you're probably gonna tumble away. Next up is Watson, the Electric Specialist. The electric team he used the most has been Magnemite, Voltorb, and Magneton. This team is a little odd. For some reason, he doesn't use any Hoenn Pokemon? That's just strange. Anyway, since he uses a lot of Steel types in Magnemite and Magneton, we can make him a Steel Specialist. So I decided to replace his non-Seed type Voltorb. I decided to go for Mawile, feeling like a pretty decent Pokemon. And his ace, I decided to make it Lairon, a big powerful Steel type of the Hoenn region. I think it makes sense. Next up, it's Flannery, the Fire Specialist. She uses a different team, so I'm gonna go over her most recent one. Her team in ORAS, meaning ORAS stands for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, by the way. Her team in that game has been Slugma, Numu, and Torkoal. With normal secondary ground typing, we can make her a ground specialist. We're gonna make her Ace Camerap because he had used it in her gym battle in the Emerald. For our other Pokemon, I decided to give her a Sandru and replace her Numu with Baltoy. I don't want gym leaders to have a repeat of their Ace. Other Pokemon are right, but not their Ace. I choose these two specifically because they are ground types that can be found in the desert, which is the area you unlock after you beat her. Next up is Norman, the normal specialist. His most used has been Vigoroth and 2 Slackings. Decided to look up some teams he used in Black 2 and White 2, and a Pokemon that really commented was Sawsbuck. We can use that to make him a grass specialist. While it might be an odd choice, I feel like a grass specialist is interesting because the whole region have a lot of interesting grass types. The grass team I decided to give him was Shiftry, Breloom, and an Ace Tropius. All proper grass types from the Hoenn region, and I think a bit Tropius as the Ace because it's quite interesting as a Pokemon to me. It's a plant dinosaur. Why is not interested? Next is Winona, the flying specialist. Her mostly used team has been Swellow, Pelipper, Skarmory, and Altaria. With Altaria's secondary dragon typing, we can make her a dragon specialist. The team I decided to give her will be Shelda, Flygon, and then Kingdra. Well, she's already pretty tough with a dragon sweeping Altaria, so why not make it more tough? Next is Tate Lysa, the psychic specialist, which is the first team that ever involved Double Battle. Their most used team has been Solrock and Lunatube, both powerful psychic type, but also powerful rock type, so we can make them rock specialists. Normally I would change one other Pokemon, but what is it to change into? One thing that they really need in a double battle, so that makes sense, is 2 Pokemon that are similar but still different. And Solrock and Lunatube fit that gimmick the best. Next up is Wallace/Juan. Juan is the final gym leader in Pokemon Emerald, while Wallace is the final gym leader in all the other games. While it sounds weird that I discussed them both at the same time, their team is quite similar, and I just think we can lump these two together. Both of them uses Loftus, Casilio, and Whiscash. Then Wallace uses Seaking and Milotic, while Juan uses Crawdon and Kingdra. A lot of different Pokemon, so we need to narrow it down. I decided to look up the Pokemon that they both uses, and the only type that is left that has not been used yet is Ice, so they'll be Ice Specialist. Their Ace will be Walrein, since it's the strongest Ice-type Pokemon of the Hoenn region. Next, I give them Glalie, since it's another powerful Hoenn Ice-type, and if I expand to the Oristex, Frostlass also becomes an option. I decided to replace Celio with the second Glalie. A repeat is necessary, so why not getting 2 of the ones I like the most? And finally, I'm replacing Luvdisc with Castform. While I pretty much mostly follow Castform because of MLJ TV, it makes sense. Sure, Castform is not an Ice type normally, but if you set up Hail, well, it becomes an Ice type. And I feel like Hail will be a strategy to use. So that's the way we can get them a fully fledged Ice type team with as few repeats as possible. And this is actually going to be the end for this video. I'm sorry I didn't cover every gym leader in this video, but if you consider all the trainers I was planning on talking about, that would be 75. And that is quite a lot. So I had to cover 75 different teams for 9 different generations. Besides, in this video I have been talking about 26 different teams. And that is quite a lot just for one video. I don't think it's good if I continue to babble on about all the different Pokemon teams, because it probably is going to end up being a lot to take in just one video. Don't worry though, I'm going to make other videos about the other gym leaders I haven't discussed yet. In the next video, I'm probably going to talk about the Sinnoh, Unova, and Kalos gym leader, because in this one I talk about the Kanto, Johto, and Hoenn gym leaders, and I feel like talking about the 3 different regions with a lot of gym leaders would be alright for just one video. Anyways, what do you think of this team? Was it a gym leader's team that you wanted me to change differently? What gym leader team do you think was the best? Let me all know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!